And I think we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the Cody Miller Show, the weekly swimming show, the ultimate swimming show here on swimming-related show here on the internet, brought to you from right here in my house in Bloomington. Let's see. Okay, so this is how the show is going to work. We've got a couple of news items to talk about, some really big stuff. What's going on with the NCAA swimming, why they're cutting sports, how swimming is going to be drastically affected by it. We're going to talk about that. What the IOC board members are saying about the 2020 Olympic Games and whether or not it could take place after 2021. Some big news items that we're going to get to in a little bit. And then after that, we're going to get into our live questions. And before we get into this, how do you get a topic or a question submitted onto my show? It's easy. Send me an email to thecodymillershow@gmail.com. That's thecodymillershow@gmail.com. And maybe you'll get a topic or a question answered on the show. One of the main topics or questions is oftentimes pulled from viewer emails. But the best way, the certified 100%, you're going to get your question answered, is to use the link in the description below. That is a Stream Elements link. You can drop in a tip, just a couple dollars. All that money is going to get donated to charities, to supporting young children around the world that are struggling with this virus, that can't get food, all that kind of stuff. So any donation is super, super appreciated. And it guarantees that you guys get your question answered by me live, which is awesome. Also, you can submit those questions anytime. I had a number of you reaching out to me earlier this morning because I posted this link and some of you guys were having trouble with it. I think I fixed it, so I'm positive that link works now. I've gone back and forth with a couple different distribution methods, and I think I'm setting on this one for now, which is good. So before we get started, quarantine here in Bloomington has been about as good as it could be, all things considered. Allie made me lunch this afternoon. I had a really good workout today. I was gone for like 4 hours, came back. Allie made me some chicken wings and a nice salad, which was awesome. I just put a photo of that on my Instagram story. And so that was awesome. We've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. That's what we've been doing with a lot of our time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Animal Crossing, but it's this fun game on the Nintendo. It's kind of like The Sims and Farmville from Facebook, that really old game kind of put together. And you create a little island and gain resources and trade stuff to build a house and then let residents come and live on your island. Anyway, so I think Allie is literally playing that right now. She's probably mining for materials, like chopping wood or fishing on the ocean or something. But we've been spending a lot of time doing that. So that's kind of what we've been doing. That's kind of what we've been up to. Normal workouts as much as possible. Trying to stick to a routine, trying to keep things as normal as we can given the circumstances. And we're doing our best. Okay. So now, with that out of the way, that's kind of what's going on with me. First of all, one more thing. I want to plug my podcast. I have committed to doing the Cody Miller podcast every single week on Mondays. Please subscribe to my podcast on Spotify or or wherever you get your podcasts. It's on iTunes. Most people use Spotify and iTunes. Just check those out there. I'm doing those with some of my really, really good swimming friends. It's just an hour long or however long of us just talking about swimming related stuff, how people got to where they are now. But it's very fun, casual, and it's going really, really well. So please subscribe to that. If you subscribe to that and take a screenshot of that and post it on your Instagram story, you'll be entered to win round 2. I think we're on round 2 of free merch. So free Cody Miller merch could be in your future if you do that. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's get started with our first main topic. And this is a big one. This is the title of the show. So this is some big news. Basically, the NCAA is required to have a certain number of what we consider non-revenue sports to kind of counteract football. And there are rules in place that in order to keep certain universities Division I or whatever division they are, they have to have a certain number of sports, meaning swimming. Now, there's a few articles floating around about this piece of news that 22 more conferences asked for a 2-year waiver on NCAA minimum sports requirements. So what that means is there is a large number of conferences around the NCAA that are asking for a waiver to reduce the number of sports that they are required to have. Basically meaning that they want permission to cut sports without losing their status within the NCAA. So that means that non-revenue sports like swimming, like diving, like track and field would be on the chopping block, would be the first ones to go. And that is devastating. Absolutely devastating. And we're gonna get into this in a little bit. But this is what kills me is of the new 22 division conferences that are asking for a slightly less drastic option, nobody is speaking out when they're being asked. Like all types of news organizations, NBC, CNN, all of them are reaching out to ask them about this kind of thing. And none of them have any answers except the commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, which is a conference that I know very well because I have a lot of friends that have competed in that conference. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where UNLV is. That's where UNR is, University of Reno. There are a lot of sports where I've had a lot of good friends, a lot of high-level swimmers that competed within that conference. And now the commissioner of that conference, Craig Thompson, said in an ESPN story that there's a conspiracy theory within this whole thing. He's saying this is the opportunity they've been looking for. They've been trying to cut that. He says, I don't believe that's really the case. He said, nobody wants to cut sports. It's a conspiracy theory. Let me just pause here for a second before I lose my mind. So they're asking for the right to cut sports, to relax restrictions, but he's saying that they don't want to cut sports. Now, I believe that like no conference wants to cut sports. I don't believe that universities and institution wants to cut sports, but unless there's other things in place here that they can loosen restrictions on in order to save money that doesn't involve cutting sports, I don't see how you could see it as any other thing. Like that's why no other commissioners are speaking up and talking about this. And that's why I titled this video, We Need to Save Swimming, because there are probably hundreds of programs across the United States in the NCAA swimming that could be in jeopardy of losing their program for a number of years, maybe for 2 years, maybe for 4 years. We don't know, which is insane. It's insane to think about. I've had some of my best friends swim at schools within these conferences. And I couldn't imagine, in a year or two's time, if this pandemic and this virus is subsided and the world can kind of go back to normal and these high level, really any level swimmer or athlete as a sophomore, junior, or senior in high school, you're a senior in high school and you graduate, all of a sudden, all the schools that you wanted to go and compete at don't have those programs. They don't have those opportunities. That's horrible. I couldn't imagine, like if you're a senior this year and say this goes through, say it gets approved and say the NCAA is like, hey, we're just trying to stay afloat. Like I understand everyone's trying to save money right now. Everyone's trying to do the best that they can. We get that, right? Like we understand these are hard times and there are going to have to be sacrifices made. We understand that. But because we live in the swimming world and because having these opportunities and having these programs are so important to us, like we're going to fight for that as we should. And so really all we can do is basically create some kind of social media campaign, which I think is being orchestrated where everyone's going to have to speak out, tag the NCAA and use the hashtag #SaveMySport, and tweet out at the NCAA being like, hey man, don't do this. There's no reason to do this. Don't do this. Don't cut these programs. Don't give them the opportunity to cut these programs. Don't let universities cut programs that create opportunities, that build champions, that build character, that provide jobs, provide lots of jobs for coaches across the board, create Olympians. They want to do that. They want to cut all of that and still be able to run business as usual within the NCAA for their revenue-generating sports. Now, I get it, right? Sports like basketball and football, they're here to stay because they're revenue sports, as they should be. Very, very, they've earned that. They understand that. But we are asking, please don't do this, right? Don't cut our sports. I couldn't imagine I couldn't imagine being a senior in high school this year, being committed to one of these schools in one of these many conferences that has a swim program, and you're planning on going and swimming there for the next 4 years. And for all I know, there are a lot of people out there that are going to go into college and pop off and make national teams and make world championship teams and maybe even make Olympic teams from these programs. And because of what is happening right now, that might be taken away from them. Taken away from them. That, like, we're all on the same page here, right? Like, this is horrible. This is terrible. This is scary. Like, I get so riled up. Like, we can't let that happen. We can't let that kind of thing happen. So all I would say is #SaveMySport. Tweet that out, put it out on Facebook, put it everywhere you can. Basically, let the NCAA know, hey, like, no, like, this is not okay. Like, we don't want to. It's these opportunities, these programs, they're too important. There's jobs on the line. There's people's futures on the line. It's just, and I know, like, there are counter arguments to this as well. Like, as much as I'm not an idiot, like, I'm not going to stick my head in the sand and say, look, I know that having certain programs is a big expense for universities. I understand that. Like, we get that. But the reality is a lot of schools can still manage it. A lot of schools can still handle it. And you do not want to be taking jobs away from people and taking opportunities away from people at times like this when they need those things the most. We need those opportunities and those programs the most. And there are a lot, and this is just the beginning. Hopefully we can do our best to stop this in our tracks, but this is just the beginning. And it's scary. It's terrible. And I am hoping and praying that we can make a big enough push and have a loud enough voice to prevent this kind of thing from happening. And I hope that the NCAA doesn't do this. And if they do start taking incremental steps towards doing it, I hope that there's a big blowback and that it prevents it. Because, not to go down a whole rabbit hole, but the whole nonprofit organization of the NCAA is a big fat joke, right? And we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into that. But please don't take these opportunities away from us. Nobody wants that. #SaveMySport. Nobody wants that. Okay, enough on that topic. We could discuss. Let me know. By the way, let me know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts? Is there something that I'm missing about this? Are there other elements of what is being proposed that maybe doesn't necessarily correlate to cutting programs that I'm missing? Am I reading this wrong? Is there more to it? Maybe there is. I'm not a genius. Jump in the comment section below and let me know. And we will move on to our second topic of the day. And I'll be honest with you guys, I debated back and forth about whether or not I was going to discuss this. I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to get into this because it's a sore subject. It's a tender subject, and it's not something that it gives me no pleasure in talking about this. But I've had so many people ask this question. I've had so many people sending me articles and reaching out to me about this that I feel like I kind of need to address it. And that's this. A couple articles dropped with a piece of news that says that IOC, International Olympic Committee member Dick Pound, says delaying the Olympics beyond 2021 is unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Where did it go? I just lost my place. Where did it go? Where did it go? I'm blowing this, guys. He basically said, I completely, like, my phone just froze up. I was gonna read you a quote about this. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I apologize for that. I'm an idiot. He said the Japanese have said that we can keep the ball in the air for another year, but no longer than a year. And so Pound said, we really have to hope that we get this act together in time for 2021. This is the important piece of this statement. We really have to hope that we get this act together in time for 2021. So what that means is this guy, as a high-ranking member in the International Olympic Committee, a board member, is saying we have to hope that we get our shit together. It's a little bit scary, but let's unpack this, right? Right now, I'm getting a lot of questions about people saying, number one, how do you feel about the Olympics being postponed? I've discussed that. I've made vlogs about that. But number two, do you think that it will actually happen? Do I think that the Olympic Games will actually happen in the summer of 2021? What are my thoughts? I feel like I have to discuss this because so many people have been asking me about it. The honest answer is I don't know. I don't know. And it hurts me to say that, but I do not know. For so many different reasons, no one really knows. If we knew definitively that it was going to happen, this board member, Dick Pound, would be like, yeah, it's going to happen. But we just don't. Like, here's one little piece of information, one little piece why, right? There's 10,000 Olympic athletes at the games each year. 10,000. These events, Olympic Games, are planned out 8 years in advance. 8 years in advance to plan these kinds of events, because you've got dozens and dozens and dozens of different sports competing at multiple venues that are housing and seating tens of thousands of people with broadcasting distribution rights all over the world. And you have 10,000 athletes that you have to house in one village that is accessible to all the different venues. And here's the thing. Those villages in Japan have been built. They are ready. They were prepared for this summer. But because Japan is smart, and because when countries that can sustain Olympic Games type of events host events, after the games are over, those venues, those facilities, those housing units are sold off and then used. And all of the housing for the Olympic Village that was supposed to happen this summer in Japan have been sold off. People are moving into those units after the summer. So after whenever the date for the closing games or the closing of the Olympic Games were supposed to be, I think it's like late August, like say it was August 31st. Within 2 weeks of that date, residents of Japan were moving into those dorms, right? So that's not available. So what I'm trying to say is the village that was prepared for the 2020 games isn't an option. It's not an option because people are going to live there. So that's one thing you have to figure out. You have to figure out a place for 10,000 athletes in a matter of what? How many months away are we right now? 14 months? And that they've been planning and building for years. And that's one thing. That is one thing. There's a whole bunch of other infrastructure reasons we could get into why it may not happen. But let's take another look. Let's take a route down this COVID-19 route. I discussed this a little bit last week, but right now, I believe it is likely that we will have a vaccine before the games official start date next summer, but we don't know. We do not know if there will be a vaccine before the games next summer. And everyone is worried about a second or third wave of this virus. We don't know that this virus, because of the social distancing and because of the quarantine procedures that are going around the world, we don't know that that's going to completely cure this whole thing. Say it wipes out 80% of this virus, which would be great. You still have 20% of this virus, and that virus can come back. People are getting this virus, getting better, and then getting it again. Not to get too dark, but they're worried that this virus could be more similar to a flu, where it's seasonal. And what I'm trying to say is we don't know if this thing is going to come back, if it's going to be around. We don't know. So in theory, having a worldwide event where close to 1 million people, I'm actually not sure how many people were supposed to attend the Olympic Games, but let's just say 500,000 to 1 million people plus the 10,000 athletes are supposed to come to this event. Okay, maybe that's high. I don't know. Is that a smart thing to do if we don't have a vaccine? Probably not. Right? Can they guarantee that there's not going to be another crazy outbreak like this? I don't know. So when you ask the question, do I think the Olympic Games are going to happen in 2021, given the fact that IOC members are being positive but are not concrete because they can't be? The answer is I don't know. And it hurts me to even think that. Like it hurts me to even think of the possibility that the games are delayed right now, but eventually we might be 3 months out and they're going to be like, there's just no way, right? There's just no way because, it's mid-April right now. In 12 months from now, when we're a couple months from the 2021 games, We don't know what the state of the world's going to be like, right? We don't know. I hope to God, as everyone else does, that this will have subsided. We will have a vaccine. We will have procedures, and we will be prepared. And all of the other issues, like the infrastructure issues, will be addressed, and we can have a functioning Olympic Games. But the bottom line is, I don't know. And as far as how athletes are operating, what they're thinking, how they should be acting, all those things, all we can do is operate as business as usual and just hope for the best. Like I'm a big believer in obviously being very positive and looking on the bright side of things, as I think we all should. And this is one of those things where everything is out of our control. Everything. All we can do is do what we're being told as far as social distancing, taking care of one another, doing our best. But 12 months from now to a little over a year from now, what happens with the games is totally out of all of our control. So the only thing we can do is operate business as usual. And guys, please, and I know most of my viewers like aren't this way, don't ask those things, but don't ask. Like it's not a pleasant feeling getting asked as an Olympic athlete, a potential Olympic athlete, your thoughts on the games potentially being canceled. That's like asking someone how they feel about their worst dream, about the worst thing that could possibly happen to them. It's horrible. So, as I said, I didn't really even want to talk about this, but I feel like I've been beaten over the head with it by so many people that I needed to address it. But that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where we're at. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but we're trying to stay positive. We're trying to do our very, very best. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. So that's it for that topic. That's it for the main topics today. Now I'm going to take the rest of the time to move on to your live questions. Once again, how do you get a live question answered by me on the show? It's easy. Click that link, the Stream Elements link in the description of this video. Drop in a tip, ask your question, and I promise you, if you have a question, I will answer it, and all that money is going to get donated, which is awesome. So let me pull up the questions. I have a couple rollover questions from last week that we're going to get into here in a second once I pull it up, because I'm very comparable. Okay, so our first question today comes to us from Arya B, who tipped $5. Thank you. How do you handle mental pressure and high-level swim meets or low-level swim meets? What should you do or think of? Are there any ways to handle the stress? I really love the vlog, by the way. Okay, so to answer your question, I think you're asking the difference between mental pressure at high-level meets or low-level meets. So for me, as far as pressure goes at meets, whether it's the first meet of the season and it's a low-level, low-pressure meet, or it's U.S. Nationals where they're selecting teams, the mindset should be the same going into any meet, right? Your mindset shouldn't change, because what you want to do is develop habits that allow you to follow through the motion and not have to think, right? What you should do is having steps in place, routines, warm-up procedures, whatever they are, and kind of do the same thing and look at every single race, whether you're racing teammates that you swim against every single day or you're racing against high-level junior Olympic swimmers, whatever it is. I think that it should always be the same, right? I think that routine is key, and always preparing, like even the low-level meets, always preparing as if it's the big moment so that when you're finally there, you're prepared. That's how I would answer. I mean, like my mindset going into any meet doesn't necessarily change, right? Your expectations might be different, but the mindset, how you think about things, how you visualize races, how you eat, what time you wake up, how you warm up, those things are always all the same. Because when you get to the big moment, you don't want to think about those things. You just want to follow through. Thank you for the question. And our next question, this is another leftover from last week that I didn't get to, comes to us from Dan Jackson, who tipped $50. That is a very generous donation. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Dan says, good seeing you this weekend. What is the definition of quality leadership? And who have you swam with or for that exhibits that definition? How has this person impacted your character as a leader? Thank you. And happy birthday to Allie. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Allie just had her birthday. We had a good little birthday. Did get her an ice cream cake, which was kind of nice. I ate a lot of that ice cream cake that I'm not proud of, but I worked out a lot. So, doing my best. Okay. So Definition of quality leadership. The first thing that comes to mind, I could go down the list of coaches that have impacted me and taught me things and that have helped made me who I am today. But the first person that I ever really swam with, who really changed the way that I viewed practices, was actually my best friend and roommate and best man at my wedding. His name's James Wells. And I remember James came from a super different program than I came from. Like, I came from, you guys know, the Sandpipers of Nevada, where we do a lot of swimming. We work hard. Those guys grind, and they're good. Like, they work hard, do a lot of volume, a lot of intensity. And as a result, they've got a lot of really great swimmers. But James came from a small program in Maine, in Phippsburg, Maine. And they did singles. They didn't swim a whole lot. And a lot of their programming was just based around kind of having fun. And when James and I got together, like, we had so much in common. We had the same, very similar personalities, very, very similar, this and that. But when it came to being in practice, I was always really serious. I was always hyper focused, and I was always maybe too focused and too zoned in, and sometimes not, and sometimes to a fault where I wasn't enjoying myself. Yeah, I see people in the chat, Long Range Swim Club, or yeah, LRSE, that's right. Or Long Reach, sorry. But James was like always laughing and smiling and goofing around. And I was like, huh. And he kept getting better. Like, anyway, what I'm trying to say is, like, as far as good leadership and being a good teammate, James taught me that you can smile and joke around through the pain, and still be laser focused. And I kind of carried that on. Like, it's like once we started swimming together, like, I started having more and more fun. Not that I didn't enjoy myself swimming in high school. I had a ton of fun in high school, but I wasn't as jokey, smiling through all of it. Like, I didn't embrace it the way that I do now. I think that the older I get, the more that I learn to embrace it. But James was a guy who, like, really changed my mindset. And I was like, oh man, like, I can be super focused on the set, have super high expectations, but, like, when I'm on the wall, like, I can be smiling and, like, we can joke around. And I think that that's, like, super, super important. So that's one thing that I value the most. And one thing that I appreciate the most about James is that, he and I are obviously best friends, but, like, I saw that in him, that it's like, oh, like, you can do both, right? Like, obviously you need to be super serious, but you can do both. Okay. Thank you for the question. Shout out, James. Love you, miss you. Let's see here. Okay. Moving on to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Kuba, who says, how do you prevent your goggles from fogging up? Baby shampoo, spit, anti-fog. Thanks. Funny. When I was younger, I used to spit in my goggles and, like, swirl it around and then dip them in water. And I used to think that like prevented them from fogging up. It might have. I think that back in the day, those goggles didn't come with the anti-fog layer in now. Like, now when I get a new pair of goggles from Tier, they're already pretty fog resistant for the first few weeks of swimming, right? Because they've already sprayed whatever they've got. But I mean, dude, there's something you can just buy, like, fog resistant sprays. I know Tier makes some. I'm sure there's a lot of companies that make them, that you can just spray in your goggles. But I also find that if you just dry them out, right? If you don't let the chlorine dry up on the inside of the lens, sometimes they don't fog up as much. Good question. Next question comes to us from Matthew Durbin, who says, hey, Cody, love the vlogs. Can you explain how to support yourself in college and still swim if you don't get a scholarship? In your opinion, can you fit a job and doubles, classes, and enough sleep for recovery, and give it all in your practice? So your question is, if you're not on a full scholarship, if you're paying for college, can you be on a swim program, balance school, all of those things, and still be successful? The answer is yes. You absolutely can. I've seen it done by numerous people. I've seen people have jobs and swim on the IU swim team. I've seen people work at restaurants around town. A training partner of mine from a few years back, his name was Tanner Kurz. He had to work to support himself. Now, he was a scholarship athlete, but during the summers and even during the school year, there were times when, dude, that guy was working at Malibu Grill as a waiter and still training doubles. So yes, absolutely, you can. and sometimes I think that like it's a struggle to work a job. Like, look, I know what it's like to have no money and be uncertain of like what your swimming future holds, right? I remember right out of college, I was washing cars, detailing motorcycles, doing everything that I could to earn money just for rent, and I still swam okay. All right, I still swam really well that summer. So yeah, you absolutely can, but grind away. Sometimes that builds character. Sometimes it's good. Thanks for the question. Next question comes to us from Brandon Kerrigan, who says, "Hey, Cody, I'm on the U.S. Olympic transplant swim team." That's awesome. That's super awesome. And would love to have a conversation with you sometime. Big fan and would love to talk to you / compare training. Keep on crushing it. Awesome. Dude, send me an email to the Cody to my email, the Cody Miller Show @gmail.com, and put that in the description, and like maybe we can connect and talk about that, because I mean I do love talking to athletes of different realms about their training process. That kind of thing really interests me. So when people send me that stuff, yeah, I mean I think that's super super cool, and thank you for that tip. Our next question comes to us from Anonymous, who says, "How did you feel about Coach Mike Westfall leaving IU? If you were unable to answer this question, when I was wondering, do you think Adam Peaty should swim the 200? Love everything that you do. Keeps me motivated and very fun to watch you." Thanks. Okay, thanks for the question. As far as Adam goes, like I don't know, he could swim whatever he wants. I'm not going to get into that. But I will talk briefly about Mike leaving IU. I was devastated when Coach Westfall left IU. Very, very devastated. I am and was very close with Mike. He was a big part of my swimming career. He taught me a lot of things. He taught me a lot about work ethic. He taught me a lot about discipline. He taught me a lot about not giving up. And he was there for me when my dad passed away. He was there for me. He supported me. So I will always appreciate Mike, and I very, very much miss him. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to get into it, but everyone is held to a standard. Everyone has to be held to a high standard and follow rules and be a good citizen. And, Mike made some mistakes, and unfortunately he had to leave IU. And, I haven't ever talked about that really publicly, like not in my vlogs. Like I don't really want to get into that kind of stuff, but you asked me, the answer is I still really love and appreciate Mike, and I wish him really, really the best. But fortunately, things are good right now. Like at IU, like we have such a good, fun, energetic, young coaching staff that I love being around all the time. And obviously, like Ray is my primary coach. I'm with Ray every single day. I talk to Ray every single day. I'm very, very fortunate. We've got a good thing going. We've got a really, really good thing going. Okay. Thank you. Next question comes to us from Kakper. I think that's how you pronounce it. "Hi, I'm an amateur swimmer from Poland. Thanks to you and your vlog, I've returned to training after 10 years. Thank you for sharing that. That is so cool. That is so, so, so cool. I love hearing that kind of thing. That's amazing. Did you expect before Rio that you could win an individual Olympic medal? What was your expectations there? Before Rio, I never once thought about the games itself. Never, not even once. I only ever thought about the trials. And I think that oftentimes plays to the United States' strength and their advantage, because getting through trials is so hard and so mentally taxing. And there is so much pressure that once you get through that, you're really prepared. And what happens at the games, it's not that there's not pressure at the games, because obviously there is, but for me, there was more pressure at the trials. And as far as did I think I could win a medal, I never really thought about that. I always dreamed of it. I always wanted to, but my goal was always just get on the team and become the best racer I can be. And then what happens is what happens. Thank you so much for the question. Next question comes to us from Spencer Thom, who says, "Hi, Cody. I'm not loving running." Dude, I'm not loving running either, but I'm liking it more. But I know I should do it right now. How do you suggest getting better at doing something that you wouldn't normally do? Really, really good question. I know a lot of swimmers right now are doing more running when they're not accustomed to it. I'm in that boat. I would say I'm not in a position to give advice about this kind of stuff, but I would say you need to build yourself into it, right? Like for me, speaking for me, like I slowly built into running. Like I started with 2 miles. I would run 2 miles for a day, take a day off, run 2 miles 2 days in a row, take a day off, get to 3, get to 4. And now I've gotten much, much better. But the big thing I feel like for swimmers is, obviously you want to push yourself and you want to make it hard, but you don't want to overdo it when you're doing a new modality that you're not used to, right? So be smart about it. That's all I could say. And just a couple more questions here. We're starting to run out of time, guys. The next question comes to us from Jack Vales, who tips $5. Thank you. And he says, "Hi, Cody. I'm from New Jersey and I'm 10 years old. What's up? My whole family watches your vlogs. Will you vlog yourself at the Olympics? And do you know what you'll do after your swimming career?" Thank you for the question. Yeah, I would 100% make vlogs at the Olympic Games. Like for sure. Like that would be a blast. I would love to show that. I would love to do that for myself and for other people, because I only imagine, like, I know, so you're 10 years old, clearly a swim nerd. I would have lost my mind if some of my favorite Olympians when I was 10 years old had a TV show where they showed me what was going on at the Olympic Games, which is essentially what I have, right? Like that's essentially what my vlog is. It's a weekly TV show where I take people through the ins and outs of whatever it is I'm doing, oftentimes swimming related. So yes, I would love to do that 100%. And as far as what I'm doing after swimming, well, I don't plan on quitting swimming anytime soon. The ISL is opening up a lot of potential opportunities for athletes to keep competing and keep swimming. Thankfully, my YouTube channel is doing well. Like I know a lot of people have noticed I have more sponsors now, and that's great, because if I have sponsors for my videos, that means that I can continue to make these videos and like kind of do it as a career, right? I'm able to provide pieces of content and hopefully more videos down the line. Like, my plan is to do a lot more video related content, to do a lot more podcasting, to do a lot more stuff within the sport of swimming. To kind of keep it vague. I don't want to give anything away. But yeah, that, I plan on staying in the swimming world for years to come, which I'm super, super psyched about. Okay, let's see. 2 more questions here. The next one comes from Plush, who says, "Hello, Cody. Big fan of every video you put on. I swam competitively up until the end of high school and have been almost, I think you meant it has been almost 2 years since then, and really wanted to get back into swimming. Got any tips on how to get back into the groove of things?" Yes. The hardest thing to do is just start. The hardest thing to do. Like for me, don't love running. I had to find a method of working out, and everybody can run. And sometimes I sit there and I stare at my shoes and I'm like, ugh. Because I don't, because you're just not psyched about it, but you got to do it. You just got to do it. You have to start. Just like when people ask me how to start a YouTube channel, how do I start doing this? Like, you just start. That is my biggest thing. Like, and that's why, I always say diving in the pool is the best part of the day, because it's the hardest part of the day. And once you get that over with, it's all downhill from there. Once you take that first step, it gets better. So I would say take the first step, man. And if you swam before, just build yourself into it. Build yourself into it. Okay. And I think we've got one last question. I'm refreshing just to make sure I didn't miss any of the live questions that were sent in through the Stream Elements link. But I think that was it. Once again, if you guys want to get a question answered by me, guaranteed, use the Stream Elements link in that video. And the nice thing is, your questions will get answered even if you can't watch live, which is a huge benefit and is one of the big reasons why I decided to start using this is that method. Okay, looks like I got all those. So we have one more question, and this question comes to us from, I think I'm going to pronounce this right, Ewan Von Stratton. I think I pronounced it right. "Hi, Cody. Big fan. Are there any movies you are bummed that are canceled? Thanks, Ewan." Obviously, you guys know how much of a crazy movie fan I am. And yeah, no kidding. Like right now, talk about an industry that's getting hit super hard, the movie theater industry. And I mean, obviously Hollywood, everything's grinded to a halt. I'm super bummed that the new Batman film that is filming right now got bumped back a full year. bumped back. I think it got bumped back a full year, which kind of bums me out. And I'm a fan of like Robert Pattinson as our new Batman, and I think he's going to be a killer Batman. I really do. I think that is going to be. I think that Matt Reeves is a fantastic director. I'm really psyched about that movie. One movie that I'm ultra excited about this summer is Christopher Nolan's new movie Tennant. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. He's like one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, obviously. But his new movie, he is saying, is going to be released in theaters in July if theaters reopen. So I don't think theaters are going to be reopened in July. I think that that's wishful thinking. But if they are, he's saying that movie is going to stay. They're not moving dates, right? Because right now, a lot of those studios are worried that their potential billion-dollar films like Wonder Woman 1984, potentially a billion-dollar film, is going to suffer at the box office because people aren't going to want to go to the movie theater because they're not going to want to be around in crowds, which we understand. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, guys, that's it for the live question. Thank you guys so much to everyone who sent in questions. I really, really appreciate it. Always giving us awesome things and fun things to talk about, make the show better. And once again, if you guys want to get a main topic on the show, if there's a piece of news out there that you guys want to get my take on, send me an email to thecodymillershow@gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So Allie and I are probably going to play a little bit of Animal Crossing. I've got a couple other things that I'm doing. I was going to say I'm doing a lot of Zoom meetings with a lot of club teams. If you're interested in having me on a Zoom meeting, send me an email to that email address. And guys, I'm getting so many that basically what I'm doing is anyone who sends me an email to request like a Zoom meeting with their team is being put into a lottery pool, and I'm literally pulling names out of that pool. And maybe your club team gets pulled, and maybe I will write you back and say, I can do a Zoom meeting for you, but that's the only way I can do it because I only have so much time. I can't possibly do hundreds of these things. As much as I would love to, I can't. But yeah, so if your club team is interested, by all means, send me an email. We'll see if we can work something out. Yeah, so as always, thank you guys for joining me today. Make sure you're following me on social media. At Swim Miller on Twitter and at Cody Miller on Instagram. Please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Vlogs every single Wednesdays. I've got a pretty fun idea for a video this upcoming week that I think is going to be super, super cool. I'm pretty psyched about it. And yeah, also please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How do you feel about this setup, about the stream elements link, about guaranteed questions, like anything about the show, any ideas, any feedback, I super, super appreciate. I would love to hear back. And take care. Do your best. Stay positive in this situation. And yeah, until my next video, I will see you guys later. That's it. We did it.